There have been a bunch of very significant developments with regard to AI development that we did not want to lose sight of this week. So we're really excited to be joined this morning by Taryn Steinbrickner-Kaufman. She's the CEO of the Golden Gate Institute for AI, and she's going to take us through some of these developments. Taryn, it's great to have you. Great to meet you.
Thanks so much. It's lovely to be here.
So first of all, in the wake of the protests, which at times turned violent in LA, there has been an effort to spread all kinds of propaganda, as is quite typical in these news cycles these days. But added to the mix now, we have these just outright AI generated scenes, which this one in particular I'm about to show, it's kind of crazy to me that some people even thought this was real because it takes a very surreal turn quite quickly. But some people did just watch a piece of it and actually think that it was real. So, and that's putting aside more sort of sophisticated efforts to create these images and shape people's understanding of events that are happening in this country. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one video in particular, AI generated, that went viral.
Why are you rioting?
I don't know. I was paid to be here and I just want to destroy stuff.
Is what you are doing illegal?
Well, these are peaceful protests. Even that guy over there says so.
And so, Taryn, this really speaks to one of the concerns people have with regard to AI development, which is just how difficult it makes it to sort through what even is reality.
Yeah, this is a really important issue. These are going to get, one thing to know is that these are going to get much more realistic. Like these are, if you're a discerning eye and you sort of know what you're looking for, it's pretty obvious that this is AI generated still. It kind of has like a sheen. It doesn't quite kind of look exactly photorealistic. And they've gotten much more realistic in the last year, and they're going to keep getting much more realistic. I would assume that a year from now, I won't be able to tell easily whether something like that is real or not based on the actual images and audio. The second thing to know is this is a really hard problem to solve. I've heard, lots of solutions floating around, like we should, require AI generated video to have a watermark, or we should, it's just really hard. It's not really clear how any policy solution at scale could work to stop bad actors from making videos and circulating them that are not real. And the third thing which you pointed to, I think, is this sort of what I call the truth fog, which is it goes beyond the effect of the actual negative videos, the false videos, which is to say that like now I can't, in a year, I don't think I'm going to be able to tell whether a video is real, which is going to make me discredit true
videos
evidence as well. Right. Yeah. And that's a problem too, because anything, I'll be able to share if I share a video of, a candidate for president saying something and I'm like, you should vote for them because they said this, people are going to be like, how do I know they actually said that? Right.
And we are, I think, Emily, already seeing some of that. I know there was an incident with regard to a doctor in Gaza whose kids were killed by the Israelis. And there was, video of the aftermath, the horrific aftermath of that. And there are all these claims that the videos weren't real, that these were just AI generated. So I think we're already seeing some of that fallout that Taryn's talking about.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it just becomes harder to trust anything at all. Wanted to ask about this news, both from the New York Times and Bloomberg, that Mark Zuckerberg is announcing a 9-figure buy to bring top talent on for quote unquote super intelligence. That year timescale, I'm glad you mentioned it because that was one of the things I asked about. At what point are we going to have a situation where even experts have to exert a huge amount of effort to tell what's real and what's fake on social media, and even then maybe have a hard time doing it? What does super intelligence mean as defined by Mark Zuckerberg and the industry? And is this, hurdling us even more quickly along in that timeline?
No, everybody has their own term. There's super intelligence, there's advanced general or artificial general intelligence, AGI, there's ASI, there's all these terms floating around, and a lot of people don't define what they mean by them. So I don't know exactly what Mark Zuckerberg means. Like when I think about this, What I'm thinking about is an artificial intelligence that can do most or almost all of the things that humans can do on a computer, and that includes therefore many jobs. There are many jobs that people can do from their computer, and when we have an artificial intelligence that can do all of those tasks remotely, that's obviously going to have very huge economic impacts. It's going to have a lot of other impacts on society as well. So that's my own definition, and I think it's probably sort of roughly aligned with many people in the industry's definition. But as I said, different people mean different things. I mean, I think the number one thing to take away there's still a large segment of people, I think, who dismiss AI as hype, and sort of like, oh, this is kind of like crypto, like this thing these tech bros in Silicon Valley are doing. Mark Zuckerberg has never paid anyone nine figures for crypto, right? AI is in a different category, and everybody needs to be taking it very seriously. It's going to have extremely large impacts on the economy, on the way our democracy works, and on the rest of our society in many ways. And then I think that's my number one takeaway from this is like, look, the world's largest corporations are taking this extremely seriously, and you need to as well.
What does it look like to you to take this extremely seriously? Because I feel like that's where I get a little lost. I am deeply concerned. I think the job loss is going to be extraordinary. I don't put off the table some of the, most maximalist dystopian possibilities here as well. But I'm not really sure what to do about it at this point, because you have this administration that is totally like no brakes on the car, wild west. We're in this race versus China, and we've got to be the first to get to it. And they, have this very aggressive, no regulations approach to it. You have people like Sam Altman and others who are overtly out there like, yeah, we want to replace as much of human labor and possibly all of human labor as possible. And we're probably going to have to completely upend the social contract in order for this to all work out. And yet, I don't see any real large scale conversation, which is where you come in, about what that new social contract is going to look like and how we're going to make sure that people outside of trillionaires are okay in that new world. So when you say something like we need to be taken seriously, like what specific things do you have in mind in particular?
Yeah, it's hard because the field is moving so fast that we haven't had time for a real like civil society ecosystem to evolve around AI.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who might have the like interest and wherewithal in like starting a new organization around AI, there are gaps everywhere. Like here's an example is I don't know of any concerted programs to like educate state legislators about AI. That's just like one example. Another example is like I've heard many experts in the field like Ezra Klein and Kevin Roos and think tank people in DC say, we don't have nearly enough economic frameworks for thinking about the labor dislocations that we expect are going to happen from AI. There's just gaps everywhere. If you're familiar with this field, if you think that somebody's doing something about AI and you've got an idea that somebody should be doing something, probably nobody is yet, or certainly not enough people. So you should go like investigate and like maybe think about starting an effort in that field. And I don't think that there are a lot of pathways yet for people who to like engage, but I think you should call your legislators. I think you should talk to your legislators about how big of an issue this is, how much you're worried about it. Right now, AI is still not showing up as a big issue in public opinion polling, and legislators and politicians aren't hearing that much about it. I mean, when I say it's not showing up as a big issue, I mean it's not showing up. Like if you ask people what their top issues are, what they're most worried about, AI is not showing up on those lists, and we need to shift politicians' perceptions of that. So if you're not going to go start a new organization, you can at least like talk to your legislators and your representatives about what they that they need to be paying attention to this.
And I want to ask. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I want to ask about this next element we put on the screen, the Apple paper that went viral and got a lot of reactions to it. This post from Ruben Hassid says, Apple just proved AI, quote unquote, reasoning models like Claude, DeepSeek R1, and O3 Mini don't actually reason at all. They just memorize patterns really well. Here's what Apple discovered, parentheses, hint, we're not as close to AGI as the hype suggests. And I read that post and I think, okay, yeah, I mean, no, they don't reason. They just memorize patterns really well. They're freaking computers. Yes, that's exactly right. But then on the other hand, to use that as a way to dismiss our current proximity to AGI and to say that this is all overhyped and it's really moving very slowly seems ill-advised. And I just kind of wanted to get your reaction to, your reaction to the reaction from that paper.
Yeah, look, there's a set of people out there who do make their money off of and their fame off of dismissing AI, and they'll sort of seize onto papers like this to do that. I don't think that this paper is actually that big of a deal in some sense. It's not saying anything that's particularly surprising, as you pointed out. It's asking the models to do a set of very hard problems. And they, at some point, are like, basically the models are like, this problem is too hard. I'm going to stop now. And then the authors, I don't even think the authors are necessarily interpreting that as these models aren't good at what they do. It's so like then there's a sort of a whole Twitter ecosystem that's like, well, now we've proved that these models aren't good at what they do. Guess what? If you give me one of these hard problems that they gave these models, I'm also going to be like, yeah, sorry, I don't have time for this. This is like, you've said I have to solve this. They give the models constraints, like you have to solve this in a certain context window, which is maybe roughly equivalent to telling me I have an hour to solve it. And I'm like, I can't solve that problem in an hour, so I'm going to stop now. And then interpreting, I hope you all think that I'm artificial intelligence, or sorry, I'm general intelligence, right? I'm not artificial intelligence. And so they're sort of actually in some ways behaving a lot like humans in these situations. And some people are interpreting that as saying that they aren't smart, which I think is just not true.
Another thing that I've wondered is there's this sort of like line that's drawn. We were talking about the Meta project to develop AGI, artificial general intelligence, and you were saying there's all kinds of different terminologies for, meaning whatever this milestone is. Like, how much of a just sort of like line that you cross is AGI, and how much of it is more of a sense, and it's a little bit hard to tell whether you're there or you're not? Like, help me understand when people talk about AGI, how much it will be clear when we've achieved this, whatever this benchmark is. Because I also see things like, I see that study from, I see that particular study that was going around. I also see these other studies where AI is scheming to make sure it's not getting shut off and trying to like blackmail an engineer with an affair that they think the engineer is engaged in to avoid having their programming change. I see things that are deeply disturbing in terms of AI engaging it. I mean, those are very like human type behaviors and trying to defy the wishes of their programmers. So where are we in that development? And will we really, is it like this hard, fast line of we are not at AGI and now we are at AGI and it's very clear cut?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think I think most people in the industry would say it's not a hard line. And there's a term that's called the jagged frontier. It's like the models can be very good at some things and very bad at other things that humans can do. By the same token, you could say that humans have a jagged frontier. Like humans are very good at some things compared to AI and very bad at other things compared to current AI. So I don't think we're going to immediately cross the Rubicon of like suddenly the models are better than humans at everything, including, for instance, operating a physical body in physical space, right? That's not going to happen literally overnight, probably. But you always have to qualify everything you say about AI as like, I think so, probably. Anybody who's not qualifying their statements, I think you have to be worried about how much you can trust what they're saying. But I think that are we at AGI now? I mean, it's an interesting question because for a long time, the test that everybody thought we were going to use for this was called the Turing test. And for people who haven't heard of it, the Turing test is you put a human behind a computer and an AI behind a computer or in the computer, and then you have another human interview both of them, right? And if the human who's interviewing can't tell whether they're talking to the other human or to the AI, then the AI has passed the Turing test of intelligence. And these models pass that test now, the cutting edge models, right? And so by that the definition that we had all used for literally decades, invented by Alan Turing, we've already gotten there. And yet these models are very bad at a lot of things that humans are good at, and I think anybody of serious repute is saying we've actually hit AGI. So the goalposts are moving over time, and I think the goalposts will keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah, the rate of acceleration is just unbelievable. I was listening to an old Throughline episode on Ralph Nader and thinking about this actually because deaths from car accidents used to be like 5 times as high as they are now. It took us actually a really long time and a lot of tragedy to adapt our policies to make our roads relatively safe. I mean, relatively is an important word there. And I guess I'm just wondering how optimistic you are about the policy evolution meeting the moment, because right now it looks very bleak for some understandable reasons. I mean, it's hard to define. It's hard to see what the future looks like exactly. Things are moving very quickly. But it just seems like the reaction is completely non-existent here in DC.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. I think the reason to be optimistic is sort of like if you take a step back, humanity's faced a lot of threats in the past. And so far, we've survived them all, right? And so, humans are resilient, and we do live in an era when lots of people have agency. And I hope, I mean, these are choices we are making, right? These are not inevitable conclusions. These are choices that we as individuals and as society are making about how to respond to AI. And I hope we can rise to this challenge. I don't think it's impossible, but it is a huge challenge. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Taryn, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been great to chat with you. Let people know where they can find you and follow the work that you guys are doing.
Thanks so much. GoldenGateInstitute.org, and we've got a newsletter that you can subscribe to where we try to make sense of what's happening in AI for folks who are outside of the Silicon Valley bubble.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to subscribe to that. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, 2 quick things. Number 1, by popular demand, we are bringing back the monthly subscription. Number 2, you can get a month free, Ryan, by putting in that promo code BPFree at breakingpoints.com.
Yeah, and I think the most important reason to become a premium subscriber is just as an act of support for the show. It helps us do what we're doing. But if you're curious what the benefits are of doing it, take the free month, and you'll see you get the AMAs, you get the second half of the Friday show, you get you get the full show emailed to you earlier. It makes your life much better. Do it for a month at breakingpoints.com. BP free is a promo code. And if after a month your life isn't dramatically improved, you can just cancel. If it is, it's just $10 a month.
There you go.